From heated rivalries to shocking team orders, we're diving into the most disrespectful moments in F1 history. So buckle up, because these stories prove that in F1, respect isn't always part of the race strategy. The 2021 Imola Grand Prix gave us one of the most disrespectful moments in recent F1 history. Valtteri Bottas was in his Mercedes, going head-to-head with George Russell in a Williams. Now, these two weren't just racing for points, there was a whole lot more at stake. Rumours were flying that both drivers were gunning for that prized Mercedes seat the following season. And let's not forget, just 4 months earlier at the Hungarian GP, Russell had shown up Bottas by outpacing him in the same car. So there they were, barreling down the main straight at Imola. Russell, feeling brave, made a move to the right, but he misjudged it big time. His tyre caught the grass and suddenly he's spinning, slamming right into Bottas. Both cars were completely finished. Race over for both of them.
On board with George Russell, who hits Bottas. Yes, because he gets onto the grass.
Now, here's where it gets really spicy. As the dust settled, Russell marched over to Bottas' wrecked car. You'd think he'd be checking if his rival was okay. Instead, he's greeted by Bottas giving him the middle finger. Russell's response was a smack on Bottas' helmet before storming off. Well, it turned out to be Bottas' last season at Mercedes. Russell ended up taking his seat the very next year to add insult to injury. This moment wasn't just about a crash, it was about two drivers, the pressure of competing for a top seat, and emotions boiling over in the worst possible way. Now, we all know that Formula 1 can be dangerous, not just for the drivers, but for everyone involved trackside. One risk that isn't often anticipated, though, is to be on the receiving end of a knockout-style punch from one of the drivers, as one marshal learned the hard way in Canada in 1977. As James Hunt couldn't finish the Canadian GP after a disappointing season overall, clearly wasn't in the mood to be touched, even if it was for safety reasons. But before he could even get his message across, Hunt had punched him square in the jaw. So much so that the marshal was reportedly bleeding and had to receive treatment afterwards.
Fameux crochet du droit pour Monsieur James Hunt. Incroyable, il est à la tension nerveuse.
The 1994 season finale in Adelaide, Australia was the stuff of legends, or nightmares, depending on who you ask. Michael Schumacher and Damon Hill were locked in a fierce battle for their first world championship. Schumacher started on pole, with Hill right behind him in second. As the race unfolded, these two were in a league of their own, leaving the rest of the pack in their dust. But on lap 36, everything changed. Schumacher hit the wall on the right side of the street circuit, and a few corners later was caught up by his title rival. Hill, seeing an opportunity, went for an overtake. Schumacher, not one to back down, held his ground. What happened next is still debated to this day. The two cars collided, with Schumacher's Benetton slamming into the wall. For a split second, it looked like Schumacher had handed the title to Hill on a silver platter. But as Hill limped back to the pit, it became clear his Williams was too damaged to continue. Just like that, Schumacher clinched the world title by a single point. The aftermath was pure chaos. Hill's camp was fuming, accusing Schumacher of deliberately causing the crash to secure the championship. The paddock was buzzing with conspiracy theories and heated arguments. Schumacher, for his part, held his innocence, but the incident left a bitter taste in many mouths. It wasn't just about a racing incident anymore, it was about the integrity of the sport itself. This moment goes down as one of the most controversial in F1 history. It showed just how far some drivers might go to win.
Damon seeing him slow, Damon goes for the inside there, and now that really should have been, now look at that, Schumacher cuts across, rides over the wheels, the left rear wheel of Schumacher hits Damon's left front. That should have been Damon's corner, even disregarding anything else in my book.
Sometimes it's the smallest gestures that spark the biggest rivalries. Take Lewis Hamilton and Nico Rosberg for example. These guys had been good mates since their karting days, and in 2013 they reunited as teammates at Mercedes. Fast forward to 2015 at the US Grand Prix, Hamilton had just clinched his third world title. You'd think the mood would be all champagne and celebration, but what went down in that cool-down room changed everything. Hamilton, fresh off his win, casually tosses the second place cap to Rosberg. Rosberg, clearly not in the mood for Hamilton's antics, chucks the cap right back at him. They both look at each other somewhat awkwardly. Now, most people would write this off as post-race tension, but for Rosberg, it was like someone had flipped a switch. He went on to win every single remaining race that season, and he didn't stop there. The next year, he came out swinging, winning the first 4 races. It's like that cap toss lit a fire under Rosberg. He turned into a man on a mission, pushing himself to the limit to beat his teammate, and in 2016, he did just that, clinching the world title in a nail-biting season finale before his retirement. It wasn't just about a flying cap, it was the spark that intensified an already fierce rivalry. Right, let's rewind a bit on this Vettel-Webber drama. These two had been at each other's throats for years. In Istanbul 2010, they took each other out while fighting for the lead. Then there was Silverstone, where Webber dropped that zinger over the radio, not bad for a number 2 driver. Fast forward to Malaysia 2013, Vettel's on pole, but Webber snatches the lead early. They're cruising, looking set for a Team 1-2, but Vettel had other ideas. He suddenly dives down the inside on the main straight, Webber tries to squeeze him, but Vettel's not backing down. They're side by side into turn 1, neither giving an inch. Somehow Vettel makes it stick around the outside of turn 4, gutsy move, but it lit a fire in the paddock. The podium was painful to watch. Webber looked ready to deck someone, while Vettel tried to play it cool and failed miserably.
So you were surprised when he came past you?
Yeah, well, I turned my engine down and started cruising on the tyres, and then the fight was on. So anyway, we know he's a quick peddler, but I was disappointed with the outcome of today's race, and in the end, the team did a good job. I had some good fans here from Australia, so thanks guys. I did my best, and yeah.
Was this Vettel letting his emotions run wild, or payback for Brazil just 3 races earlier where Webber nearly cost him the title by squeezing him on the opening lap? We'll never know for sure. Either way, it was the last straw. Webber called it quits at season's end, probably counting down the days. This wasn't just about one race, it was years of tension boiling over.
Come on, Sebastian, you need to give him the space. Hold position. This is silly, Seb, come on.
Yep, that's good, super.
Okay, Mark, he was told.
Let's talk about Nelson Piquet, the guy who took hands-on racing to a whole new level. At the 1982 German Grand Prix at Hockenheim, Piquet led in his Brabham. He comes up to lap Eliseo Salazar in the ATS. Now, these two were actually buddies. Piquet had even helped Salazar get into F1 years before. Salazar sees Piquet coming and slows down to let him through. Simple enough, right? Wrong. Salazar completely misjudges his braking point, ploughing right into Piquet. Both cars are out, race over. Now you'd think Piquet might cut his friend some slack for an honest mistake, but nope, Piquet goes absolutely nuts. He jumps out of his car and charges at Salazar. Both guys still have their helmets on, but that doesn't stop Piquet. He starts throwing punches and kicks like he's in a kung fu movie. Here's Piquet leading a Grand Prix 1 minute, and the next he's trying to drop kick a fellow driver on live TV. This wasn't just road rage, it was track rage cranked up to 11. It showed that even friendship goes out the window when you're fighting for a win in F1.
Salazar just driving into him. I mean, it's absolutely ridiculous. Quite what Salazar thought he was doing, and I have to say that is an absolute disgrace by Salazar.
The Brazilian and the Colombian driver, I couldn't help it, said, and take that. Oh my goodness.
So you've got Prost and Senna, teammates at McLaren, but they might as well have been from different planets. These guys were fighting for the title and neither was backing down. Prost's in the lead, but Senna's right on his tail. They get to this chicane and Senna sees what he thinks is a gap. They collide, Prost's car is done, but Senna gets a push start from the marshals, cuts through the chicane and keeps going like nothing happened. He even eventually wins the race. But then the stewards step in. They disqualify Senna for cutting the chicane, and just like that, Prost the champion. Senna loses it. He's going on about conspiracies and how it's all rigged against him. Prost doesn't say much, but you can bet he's feeling pretty good about it all. The whole thing was more than just a crash. It was like watching all the off-track drama boil over onto the circuit, and it set up an even crazier rematch the next year. So 12 months later, we're back at Suzuka. Senna and Prost again, but this time Prost is in a Ferrari. The championship's on the line, just like last year. Senna's on pole, but he's fuming. He wanted the pole position to be on the clean side of the track, but the officials said no. He's convinced it's another plot against him. Lights out, and Prost gets a better start. They're drag racing to the first corner. Senna's not lifting though. Next thing, they reach the first corner, and Senna plows into the side of Prost at full throttle. Both cars off into the gravel, race over for both, championship over, Senna wins the title. And the wild part, Senna later admitted he did it on purpose, said he wasn't going to let them screw him over again like in '89. Prost is livid, calling for Senna to be banned. The officials just kind of shrug it off. This wasn't racing anymore, it was more like high-speed chess, but where you win by taking out the other guy's king with a sledgehammer.
How do you feel about being world champion?
It's not a bad feeling at all, is it?
Congratulations.
In summer of 2022, Fernando Alonso dropped the bomb that he's leaving Alpine. Alpine thinks they've got it sorted and fire off a tweet announcing Piastri as their driver for 2023. Problem solved, right? Not so fast. A few hours later, Piastri comes in with the social media equivalent of a mic drop. He tweets that he's not driving for Alpine, didn't sign a contract, not his problem. Alpine's left standing there with their pants pulled down. Awkward doesn't even begin to describe it. And here's the kicker. Alpine had been backing Piastri since his junior days. They'd invested time, money, probably a few sleepless nights into his kid's career, and he just walks away. Turns out he'd been talking to McLaren on the sly, signed a deal with them while Alpine thought they had him locked down. It was messy, Alpine felt betrayed, Piastri probably burnt a few bridges there, but in F1, loyalty often plays second fiddle to opportunity. This whole saga showed the cutthroat side of F1. One minute you're the next big thing, the next you're leaving your backers high and dry for a better seat. Now let's dive into the 2008 Singapore GP, aka Crashgate. So Renault's having a rough season. Nelson Piquet Jr. struggling and the team's desperate for a win. They cook up this plan that's so crazy, it's like something out of a bad racing movie. Piquet agrees to deliberately crash his car to bring out a safety car. Why? To help his teammate Alonso, who had pitted early, to take the lead and win the race. And that's exactly what happened. At the time, everyone bought it as a regular crash. Alonso wins, Renault's ecstatic, and the rest of the grid is none the wiser. But here's the thing about secrets in F1. They don't stay secret for long. Fast forward to 2009, Renault fires Piquet Jr. and he spills the beans. Suddenly, it's like a bomb went off in the paddock. The FIA investigates and it all comes out. The aftermath, it was brutal. Flavio Briatore, Renault's team boss, gets banned from F1 for life before it was overturned. Pat Simmons, their engineering director, is out for 5 years. Renault narrowly avoids getting kicked out of F1 altogether. As for Piquet Jr., his F1 career was toast. Alonso claimed he knew nothing about it, but you can bet that win left a sour taste in his mouth. This wasn't just disrespectful to the other teams, it was a massive middle finger to the sport itself. It messed with the integrity of the race, put drivers at risk, and showed just how far some people would go to win. Crashgate became this dark cloud over F1. It changed how people looked at team orders, at unexpected crashes, at everything.
Big crash! That's Nelson Piquet. And that is likely, I would have thought, to bring out a safety car.
Little bit lucky for the safety car, but after that it dominated the race.
Unlucky in qualifying and today very lucky in the race.
In 1982, there were two Brazilian drivers, Chico Serra and Raul Boesel, both trying to make their mark in F1. It's qualifying. Everyone's pushing for those precious grid spots. Serra's on his last flying lap, giving it everything he's got. He sees Keke Rosberg ahead and expects that he'll let him pass. Sure enough, Rosberg moves over. But then there's Boesel. Serra's expecting him to do the same. But no, Boesel stays put and Serra's lap is ruined. After qualifying, Serra's not letting this go. He marches over to Boesel and next thing you know, they're having a proper go at each other. It wasn't exactly Ali versus Fraser, but for F1, this was pretty wild stuff. Boesel claims he didn't do it on purpose, but Serra's not buying it. He's convinced Boesel blocked him deliberately. The funny thing is, this kind of drama happens all the time in modern F1 qualifying. But back then, this was big news. Two drivers actually coming to blows over track etiquette. It was something like out of a bar fight, not an F1 paddock. Sometimes that visor comes up and the gloves come off, literally in this case.
Chico Serra e Raul Boesel.
31-3-4-3.
So it's late in the race at Interlagos. Verstappen's leading in his Red Bull, looking set for the win. Ocon's a lap down in the racing point, but he's got fresh tyres and thinks he's quicker. Ocon goes to unlap himself, which is allowed, but the timing, let's just say it wasn't great. They get to turn 2, they collide, Verstappen spins, loses the lead to Hamilton and ends up finishing second. Now Verstappen's fuming. The race ends and most drivers would just stew in the garage, right? Not Max. He marches straight to the FIA garage where they're weighing the cars. Ocon's there and Verstappen just loses it. He starts shoving Ocon, getting right in his face. It's like watching a bull seeing red. The officials are trying to separate them, but Verstappen's not having it. He's jabbing his finger at Ocon, probably saying some things that wouldn't fly on primetime TV.
What I'm really surprised of is his behavior after the race. We went on the scale, started to punch me, wanted to punch me and stuff, and this is not professional.
Alright, let's wrap this up with some fresh drama from the 2024 Hungarian Grand Prix. This one's a real head scratcher. So Norris starts on pole, but his teammate Piastri quickly snatches the lead on the opening laps. Hamilton's lurking in P3 and McLaren's getting nervous. They decide to pit Norris first to cover off Hamilton, but this lets Norris undercut Piastri and take the lead. Norris is flying, building up a solid gap to Piastri in P2. Right when he thinks it's going to be his day, McLaren have other ideas. Over the radio, they drop this bomb. Lando, we need to give you the position back to Oscar.
The way to win a championship is not by yourself, it's with the team. You're going to need Oscar and you're going to need the team. Please do it now.
Norris fires back, play radio audio. McLaren's adamant though, and eventually Norris folds. He lets Piastri through, handing his teammate his first F1 win in probably the most awkward way possible.
Yeah, thank you everyone. Thank you very much. Thanks for the coordination.
This whole mess is disrespectful on so many levels. Piastri's first win is tainted. For Norris, he's fighting for the championship with Verstappen, and McLaren just cost him 7 crucial points. The kicker, all of this could have been avoided if McLaren had just pitted Piastri first. It's like they outsmarted themselves and ended up looking silly.
It hurts, especially because from a driver's championship, you know, every point will help.
So from Senna and Prost epic battles to modern day team drama, these moments have shaped F1's legacy. They remind us that behind the high-tech machines and polished PR, raw human emotions still drive this sport. While not always pretty, these incidents add to F1's rich history, keeping fans on the edge of their seats both on and off the track. Now this has been Racers Reverie, and we'll see you in the next one.